Good afternoon. Chair calls to order the board meeting for the Greenwood LaFleur Consolidated School District Board of Trustees. May we bow our head for a moment of silent prayer. Amen. Colleagues, please review the agenda and share with me your will. If there are no necessary additions, Chair will entertain a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
Second.
It has been moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. So, number 3, Mr. Brooks, are the... Wait, I'm sorry. You need to add something?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. Hayes.
Federated Career Coach Grant, administered by South Delta Planning and Development District. And superintendent would like to add that to the agenda. And I think it's on there. I think it's all up. It might be already.
Question, you said a career coach, so could we include that under 12.9, educational services, external providers? So, Mr. Brooks, can we discuss that at 12.9?
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yes.
You'll make a note of that? All right, so number 3, we have our policy updates, reviews. I do know in our packet, several policy updates have been provided by Attorney Austin Gilbert with MSBA that the board will certainly need to take a look at, and potentially in consultation with Attorney Palmer. We do have our other Attorney Palmer with us today. Decide on if the board wants to implement those policies as recommended by MSBA. I do know that policy JGAA, which is 3.2, return to school during COVID. I believe Mr. Brooks recommended that we adopt a policy that indicates that the masks are optional for this school year. Is that correct, Mr. Brooks?
That's correct. That's correct.
Anything on that, Attorney Palmer? And I know the other Attorney Palmer will join us later. Anything you'd like to add? Okay. Colleagues, any feedback about making sure that we update said policy to make the mask optional and not necessarily mandated? And then the next policy would be 3.3, which talks about the authority for emergency closures. Attorney Palmer has shared with us at least 3 other policies from neighboring districts, and each of the policies have different language, but for the most part, the language is consistent that talks about upon application by the superintendent, which gives the superintendent authority to close schools in emergency. I believe that was our initial policy before it was changed. Attorney Palmer has recommended that we simply remove the language in our current policy that indicates board approval is required. So is there any feedback regarding such?
I'd like to know why we don't have to have board approval of, what's the downside of that? all you need is a quorum, it could be a call.
Again, Ms. Abraham, I believe when we first adopted the policy, I was not in support of it, again, because it was cumbersome. If you have a gas leak at a school, you, superintendent, in my opinion, certainly would not have enough time to say, hey, let me call the board, see if there's a quorum to have a board meeting when he's hired or she is hired to carry out the day-to-day operations of the district and make a split-second decision for the safety of the kids to simply say, hey, I need to close this school, yet let me give a courtesy to the board as to, just give them an FYI.
Well, I can understand that, especially in those types of situations, but I'm saying in all situations, I mean, we've just gotta make sure that that is not taken advantage of. I guess
I agree.
that's my qualifier.
I agree with that. Dr. Moore?
I do have something to say, and this one is not it's not optional, correct? This one is whether or not we need to remove that language.
Yes.
Okay.
Or if you want to add some of the other language that was found in some of the other policies that was provided. But again, Attorney Palmer indicated for us, we could just simply remove the board approval piece, and our policy would pretty much be in alignment with everyone else's. Any other questions or feedback? Seeing none, the chair moves that we accept the recommended changes to policy JGAA as well as AFC. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Mr. Superintendent, Interim Superintendent, I'm sorry. And Attorney Palmer, please communicate to the other Attorney Palmer that we'll need him to work with Ms. Brimmer to make those updates on the policy.
I will.
Thank you. Mr. Brooks.
Approval of June 6, 2023 regular board minutes for the special call meeting for the following dates: June 9th, June 14th, June 20th, June 28th, and July 7th.
Are there any questions, colleagues? Attorney Palmer did indicate that he has reviewed the minutes and everything appears to be in order. If there are no comments, Chair will entertain a motion.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Mr. Brooks.
The interim superintendent will provide updates on the following: review of qualifications for the architects. I placed on your table some manuals for your review. Interim superintendent and a committee of two have reviewed them, and I have chosen somebody that I want to recommend. But I would like for the board to review those manuals if they can, and get back with it before we make a decision.
And colleagues, I do believe that according to the bond attorney, Attorney Young, he indicated that we certainly needed to make a decision regarding an architect during our July meeting, but if it's the will of the board, if we need to delay it until our August meeting, unless the district has a need for a special call meeting to revisit this, if the board is not comfortable making a selection tonight. I do recall Mr. Brooks indicating that he does have a recommendation. However, he wanted to afford the board the opportunity to review the documents.
This wasn't on the agenda, was it?
Yes.
Where was that on the agenda? Sorry.
Under 5.1, under interim superintendent's report, review of qualifications for architect. Also, I believe the bond issue, is the bond on here? Ms. Rimmer? Yeah, so also the bond is on here too, so it could have been covered there as well.
I'd like more time to study these before we make a decision.
Yes, ma'am. Is that the will of the board?
Yes, I think that would be the will of the board.
Okay. Is that okay with you?
That's
Mr.
fine.
Okay,
That's my wish
Thank
too.
you.
okay. 5.2.
Student achievement report. Ms. Johnson will speak to the board if so would desire. Would y'all like a report?
Yes, sir, please.
Ms. Johnson.
Good evening. You have before you, we received our retest 2 from our 3rd grade gate. The data is there. We increased at every school as far as the number of students that pass, but we are nowhere where we want to be in regards to that. You have everything before you for us. The overall district percentage is at 71% now. For us, Bankston, we're at 70%, Davis 69%, East 72%, LaFleur Elementary 73%, and Threadgill Elementary 70%, which gives us an overall district percentage of pass 71%. This is where we are now. Just wanted to mention to the board some things that we have put in place for going into next year. We have 5 content specialists that will be working with our 3rd grade classrooms. This year, this summer, we held a Rising 3rd grade camp. The Rising 3rd grade camp consists of 2nd graders that will be entering into 3rd grade to give them an opportunity to become acclimated with the standards and also with the curriculum and with the teachers. Okay, so with the Rising 3rd grade camp, I think it was successful. We had data that we're going to monitor throughout the year to make sure that we see growth based upon that. The district is also planning to hold the district-wide parent night this year earlier than we did on last year. Last year we held the district-wide parent night for 3rd graders in mid-August. We want to do it even earlier. We are also training on HQIM, our high-quality instructional material. We are not waiting. We have a week of training scheduled for this coming week, which is next week. And also we met with MDE for the literacy, the coaches' support. We are making sure that all of our supports are in place. We're working on our instructional management system to make sure it encompasses everything in regards to providing the safety net and the support that we need to improve these 3rd grade scores, and not only 3rd grade scores, but our scores as a whole.
Colleagues, are there any questions? So, Mrs. Winston, Mrs. Johnson, kudos to you and your staff for all the work that you're doing on behalf of our children. Mr. Brooks, 5.3.
Little Champions Academy camp update. Ms. Gary give us an update on that. Dr. Gary.
Good afternoon.
Good
Good
afternoon.
afternoon. The Little Champions Academy was the Rising Kindergarten program that was sponsored through Delta Health Alliance Promise School. It was funded primarily through that program. We were fortunate enough to be able to progress monitor our students every week with the program. 90% of our students left the program with a score of 530 or above, saying that they are kindergarten ready. So we expected those students to go back to which they were assigned to their home schools. So they will go to their home schools, saying that 90% of them are kindergarten ready. We had a total of 62 students. We had a standard curriculum that was followed, that was provided to us by Delta Health Alliance, that had a focus theme for each week. So for instance, example, the first week the students focused on, do you want to be my friend? So the story that they read through the read aloud books and through the activities that they did in class were centered around that. They received 270 minutes of instruction. Those minutes consisted of ELA, reading, and math. So it is our goal in the pre-K programs transitioning into kindergarten that we consistently provide those students with support, even in the summer through the enrichment programs, so that they are prepared as they enter kindergarten and they transition into the upper elementary grades, in hopes that these students will be the students that it shows that pre-K and kindergarten will enhance their chances of being passing the third grade assessment.
And Dr. Gary, these photos that were included are of the children that participated in the program?
Yes, and if you have a chance, go on the district Facebook page. Don't look at me too hard. It was a hot day, but we did celebrate the students on the last day by culminating the program with a fun day for the students where they participated in jumping houses. We did attempt to get the interim superintendent to join them, but he did come out and greet them as they were celebrating. So we did have some fun to end the program.
Dr. Gary, so how do you all engage the students with the iPads without them thinking it's a game or is
So-
that the whole idea?
Well, everything with the iPad is a game to them because most of those students are utilizing their parents' devices all throughout the day. So most of the time we don't have our phones because our kids have our phones. But most of the time the activities that we choose they're aligned to the STAR and the MCAS assessment. So we're able to purchase programs with the support of MDE. We're able to get those programs, and we have Mr. Storms who installs the program so the students are able to access them on the computer. And also it does help us with our collaboration with the Head Start, because it allows those students an opportunity to begin to have some exposure to the home school they will attend for kindergarten.
Colleagues, are there any other questions? Seeing none, thank you, Dr. Gary. Mr. Brooks, 5.5.
Next on, streets access update. Ms. Washington, you done?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I just have a short little update, from the Fixed Asset Department.
Not here.
Colleagues, can you hear Ms. Washington?
It's pretty loud. Okay. You want me?
You're fine.
Okay, I'm fine?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So, in short, he had a little summary of what he's working on. They're actually, newly issued equipment. He's making sure that it's where it's supposed to be and making sure transfers are being done properly. The update on, he's trying to make a change to a small change to the procedural manual where the schools will actually have a binder, and I do have a copy just in case you want to see it, of how he wants to set up how each school should have a binder in place in order to track the assets from the office by the fixed asset personnel that's located in each school. And then he's also working on purging some of the items out of Marathon and off of the actual fixed assets from the different schools. I know this project has been ongoing and trying to get a lot of these assets deleted that are no longer, they're either obsolete or they're no longer working. And also, I think the board, if they've already approved some of the items, I think back in January, but I think he wasn't aware of it. And so he wants to go ahead and move those items off. And then, as I had informed the board before, that we're not really trying to destroy items. If they can be resold, we can resell those things to someone else instead of just destroying them.
Question?
Ms. Washington, in regard to the procedures manual, can you briefly describe what that manual looks like, and would that manual need to come before the board to be approved?
Yes.
Is it that type of manual?
Yes, but
Okay.
I think we still have one on file that just needs to be updated, and like I say, there's very few changes It's just that we have to follow what's in the policy, but like I say, an update is, we're working on an update right now to bring to the board.
Thank you.
Mrs. Washington, so all items that are purchased by the district, they must come through the fixed asset office?
The information has to come through the fixed asset office.
Okay.
There's a procedure where the items come through the warehouse.
Okay.
And once they come from warehouse, they have to be distributed to the schools, but the documentation has to come through the fixed asset office, so it can be placed in Marathon and making sure that that tag is in place. But like I said, the warehouse actually affixes the tags to all the property.
And this may not be a question for you, and if it is not, forgive me and just tell me who to direct it to. I do recall, if I'm not mistaken, maybe about 2 or 3 months ago, we approved purchasing maybe about $10,000–$12,000 worth of chairs. Do you know if those items have come in and what they're being used for?
I would not have the answer to that.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
What we will be using for, when we have large assemblies, we'll be using for that. But right now, they are stored in our central office on Howard Street because of the fact of the space here. But yes, any large assemblies and the graduations going forward, that is what we will use those chairs for.
We'll be able to keep up with them. You know, sometimes they
Oh,
grow
yes,
legs
sir.
and they'll walk
Yes, sir.
off 3 by 3.
That's why we have been a certain storage place, yes, sir.
ma'am. Thank you. Any other questions, colleagues? Seeing none. Thank you, Mrs. Washington. Mr.
Next
Brooks.
in my report is, maintenance report. Mr. Howard had an emergency, but his report is here. You wanna read it?
Mr. Brooks, I think the report was from June. Does he not have an updated one, unless I'm looking at the wrong?
We haven't met since that time. Well, the meetings were designated specifically. Okay.
This is the last one he sent me.
Okay. Colleagues, are there any questions about the maintenance report? Seeing none, Mr. Brooks.
The next thing is summer feeding program. It's time to give us an update.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
The 2023 Summer Food Service Program began Tuesday, May 30th, 2023, and ended Friday, June 30th, 2023. This constituted 24 days of service to the children in the community that this district serves. 7 sites were open this year. They were Bankston, Davis, East, Greenwood Middle, LaFleur County Elementary, Threadgill Elementary, and Threadgill Primary. All total, we served 8,852 meals for breakfast and 13,370 meals for lunch. Of course, we would have liked to have served every child in the Greenwood and LaFleur County area, but we're thankful for those students that we were able to serve and who elected to participate in the program, and we look forward to serving to them in the future.
Question, Mrs. Todd.
Okay.
So, did you all get any feedback from the children about the quality of the food?
No one reported anything to me, but that's not necessarily to say that they didn't have some comments. But all those students basically who attend the school district are familiar with the food that we serve.
Well, I've heard that the food at East Elementary was bussin'.
Good, kudos
Those are the young folks
to
talking.
Ms. Gunn, and I'll share that with her and her staff. We
Believe it's
appreciate
good.
that.
Yes,
We
ma'am.
do get some negative, but we always appreciate when we get the positive.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, what about the parents? Do you get feedback from parents?
Not particularly, especially during the summertime, we get more feedback from them than in the regular school. And, you know, a lot of them don't understand that the kinds of foods that we serve, they're supposed to be nutritious meals, so we can't always serve them the kinds of things that they want, because we have to follow particular menus and guidelines that the State Department puts forward.
Any other questions, colleagues? Thank you, Mrs. Scott. Your recommendation?
Down to the water pool, superintendent's report.
Chair will entertain a motion based upon the interim superintendent's recommendation.
So move.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Mr. Brooks.
Open bids for hunting and fishing licenses located in
Do we have those bids? Ms. Washington?
Okay, the bid is from, D.Y. Diddy Farm LLC. And the bid amount is $7,750 as an annual rent for hunting and fishing rights. And they also included a check for $7,750.
Thank you, Ms. Washington. Colleagues, what is the will of the body?
I do have a observation currently, and that bid came from Diddy Y Diddy,
Yes,
and they are the current leaseholder
that's correct.
paying $10,000.
Yes,
And so the bid was lower than what the current amount they're paying.
that is
now.
correct.
Thank you.
7,000, yes.
Just a little point of clarity.
What is the will of the body, colleagues? You want to accept the bid, decline it, re-advertise?
I do have a question. How long is this lease? What's the length of time?
A term of 5 years.
Colleagues, your thoughts, comments?
I'm okay with going on with what the bid was,
Okay.
and I'll make a motion to
It has been moved, that we accept the bid of $7,750 from D.Y. Diddy, for a hunting and fishing contract on 1621 North 1 East. Is there a second? Is there a second? Is there a second? Motion dies for lack of a second. Is there an alternative motion?
correct terminology, that we re-advertise for 1621 North, 1 East.
That was a motion? Dr. Moore?
Yes.
Is there a second? It's been moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. That was it, Ms. Washington. Also, colleagues, the contract for our 16th section manager has expired, and I have shared with you the new contract submitted by said person some time ago. I believe that information was also shared with you, Mr. Brooks, maybe? The contract. No.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it was, okay. Do you have a recommendation as it pertains to if you would like to retain those services again, or?
I would like an opportunity to negotiate that contract if possible.
Colleagues, what is the will of the body? So I believe the current hourly rate was included on the contract. So if it's the will of the body, I move that we allow the interim superintendent to negotiate a rate not to exceed that amount that is on the contract.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you, Mrs. Washington. Mr. Brooks. Number 7.
Mark Piper will address the board regarding updates on the support project.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hopefully you have your board report in front of you. You can read it at your leisure. I'll just try to hit some of the high points. First of all, and I do have a couple of action items I'd like the board to address this evening, if at all possible. First, on the restroom renovation project, things are going well. As I'd mentioned, I think previously, 5 of the schools were already substantially complete. That'd be Claudine Brown, the 2 Amanda Elsie schools, Greenwood Middle and Greenwood High School. And they are still working punch list items and final cleanup, and we'll make sure that is cleaned up and ready to go before school starts. The other 7 schools should be ready for use by the end of this month. We've tentatively scheduled July 27th for that substantial and completion inspection. And so hopefully you'll have restrooms at all 12 schools ready and go for the new year. You may recall in a couple of board meetings previously, you had given us authority to do some investigative work at Amanda Elsie. There were some issues with drainage. They've done that video work and they've issued a report. We have a couple of breaks in the pipeline that need to be fixed, and we've also found that there's only about 12 inches of fall and over 300 feet of pipe. So it's basically flat. You do know we've also changed out the diaphragms to increase the flow rate to help push the waste along. But one of the considerations they're having is that we look at maybe adding a lift station. You're probably familiar with those. It's basically a station waste will go there, it gets lifted and pumped further on down the line and helps alleviate that low slope. However, before I proceed further with investigating that, just to give you a rough order of magnitude, that will probably run somewhere in the neighborhood of $85,000 to make those repairs. And if that's something that the board thinks they'd be willing to entertain, we'll push that forward, and hopefully by the next board meeting have you a more definitive estimate on what the scope is and what that repair cost would be. And that could be done via change order or with your contingency allowances with the current contract with Upchurch. So I guess we should proceed with that. Again, that's not a formal board action, but just it's.
Do we have any other options other than a lift station?
Not really. I mean, obviously we need to fix the breaks in the pipe. That won't nearly be that kind of cost, but the lift station is a costly item.
Okay.
But you do have the funding available in ESSER to do it.
Okay.
No, sir. He texted me and indicated that he had a family emergency and he wouldn't be able to make it this evening. We can go double check. But in the section that we're talking about, no, sir, there's not one. All right, we'll do that and report back to the next one. Also, you may recall at Bankston, you had asked us to investigate some of the flooring issues in those 2 restrooms where there's been some sort of structural movement or settlement or something that's caused some serious problems in those 2 restrooms. Burns Cooley Dennis has gone out. They've taken the 3 soil borings, 1 in each of the 2 restrooms and 1 in between those 2 wings of the school. They've issued a report. We've turned that over to the district. And actually what they're recommending is that we do a little bit further investigation, one with a structural engineer to go look and make sure that there's nothing that's obvious there that could be the problem, which he's kind of done a quick review. We don't see anything. The other thing he's recommending, similar to what we did at Amanda Elsie, is get a video through those sanitary lines to see if there's some sort of break in pipes that could be contributing to the problem. What they suspect is the soils in both those bathrooms underneath it in the first 5 to 10 feet are expansive clays, and they suspect that because of the shrinking or swelling of those clays, that is what's caused the problem. But we need to do a little bit further investigation, see if there's any leaks in any of the sanitary lines, and also recommending that we do a levelness survey in both those restrooms. So they would come in, take survey shots, get an elevation, maybe wait 3 to 6 months, take some more shots, see if there's any movement, and probably do a 3rd set of shots just to see how that floor is reacting over a period of time. And we'll pursue with that. So that's your restroom renovation update.
I do have a question about
Yes,
the
ma'am.
restroom. I have done observations for the year, and I just want to say that the restrooms look really nice. The toilet areas, they look really nice.
Well, I'll pass that along to
Yes,
Upchurch. I'm
please
sure
do.
that'll be.
But I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
What's the difference between can you describe I think it's industrial type of toilet versus
Well,
another type of toilet? What does
typically
type of-
your flush valve and the discharge of the water is at a higher velocity and better than what you would have in a home type situation.
so can you describe what they would look like?
It's a pipe, typically comes out of the wall. It's attached to either your urinal or your toilet fixture. These should be touchless faucet, touchless flush valves. So you've probably encountered them in maybe restaurants or quick stops or things of that sort.
So what are those toilets that have a back on them? Can you tell me what
Those are tanks, and in some of your schools they replace the tank with in-tank kind. In some instances, those were replaced with the same that had been there previously, different flush
Right,
mechanisms.
and those are not touchless.
I'll have to check. If you tell me which school, I will make sure we go look. And
Are you going to be here until the end of the meeting?
I hadn't
And I
planned on
can
it, but
run
if I
that
need
by
to
you.
be,
Pardon me?
I hadn't planned on staying to the end, but if I need to, I can.
Okay. Let me think about that, and then I'll have Mr. Brooks
Or you can have
to
Mr.
give you a call
Yes, ma'am.
regarding that.
That'd be fine.
Because I was under the impression that we would get those industrial type.
Well, now, remember, we didn't replace every fixture at every school. I know in all the banks,
Mhm.
like student banks of restrooms, those were, and I know in a lot of areas like that, but I can't tell you that 100% of every fixture was replaced at every school.
Thank you so much.
And Mr. Pippin, just thinking about what Dr. Moore is alluding to, and I say the tanks as in a residential
Yes, sir.
toilet. For me, I have safety concerns. If a student could remove that tank, that top,
Mm-hmm.
put something there that may not be permitted on school grounds. How do we get around it? I don't know. Maybe, we had a similar problem before. But again, I'm not certain if we have toilets with tanks on them or not that were being installed.
Okay, I'll check.
Okay. Colleagues, any other questions? Mr. Clerk?
All right, HVAC, obviously they're focusing on the two Threadgill schools and Greenwood High School. If you remember, that change order gotten approved. They have ordered that equipment. Unfortunately, as we stand here today, I don't have a delivery date. The focus of their work right now is primarily at the two Threadgill schools, and they're trying to get all the overhead work that they can get completed prior to school starting, so that when everybody comes in, it'll be a safe environment, and obviously they'll be working throughout the year. I do think if all goes according to plan, the two Threadgill schools should be complete by the end of January of '24. The other ones, we're kind of at the mercy of when those electrical gear gets shipped in. On your carpet project, if you remember, you'd given us permission to advertise for bids. Those bids, or the documents, are out for bid. We actually had the pre-bid meeting yesterday here. At least had 2 bidders that appear to be interested in the job, and it bids July 25th. So hopefully at the next board meeting, I'll be coming to you with a recommendation to do that. And I think in one of the previous meetings you had asked about schools. I believe it occurs in 11 schools. So that'll be done. At this time, I'm going to ask, if you would, John Beard to come up. We're going to talk about the window project for just a few minutes, and we do have an action item on it.
Thanks, Mark. Again, I'm John Beard with Beard and Reiser Architects, and we've completed the construction documents for the window repairs and restoration at the 3 campuses. We're doing Greenwood High School, Bankston Elementary, and Threadgill Elementary. And what we're here today to ask you is for your approval to go ahead and bid these projects. And we're looking at advertising on July 20th and the 27th, and we'll accept bids on August 22nd. And that should, I believe your next board meeting is August 30th, is that correct?
Whatever Ms. Rimmer says, Mr.
Okay. Well, I think on your on what's published, it said August 30th. But at that point, we could you could award the project, and that'll get us in within that September 30th deadline. So if you award at that August 30th meeting, we'll get you a contract, and we'll be ready to roll.
So August the 30th is a work session.
It's a work session.
Right. So of course we can't take action at a work session. If necessary, we could potentially have a special call
Okay.
to the work session.
Sure.
Based upon the availability of the board and getting with the superintendent.
The key is just that September 30th.
Yes.
So prior to September 30th, we need to have that.
So our next meeting is on the 5th, I believe, of September, which is a Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. But we'll get the. We'll
Okay,
get the logistics
great,
down.
great. Thank you. Are there any questions about the window project? Anything I can, any questions?
No, sir.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
I guess with that, just budget-wise, again, things are still about where they were before. You know, we roughly have about 5.4 million, 5.5 that's unassigned. A big factor, a big portion of that will probably go towards the windows. John had pointed out, one of the key things is, of that 5.4, 5.5 that you have remaining, about $1.3 million, $1.2 million of it is in ESSER 2 funds. We have to have those obligated by September 30th, so that's why his pushing for that date. So with that, if there's not any other questions, I'd maybe bring up the 2 action items.
Any other questions, colleagues? No?
All right, action item number 1. On your HVAC project, if you'll remember, you guys went out for advertisement through the reverse auction process to do some other HVAC work at other schools. I think that number was roughly $270,000. We need permission to be able to do that scope of work with the ESSER funds that we have available. And if that gets approved, then the appropriate folks will issue a purchase order to Upchurch to complete that work.
Can you, since we don't have anything to kind of go by, can you tell us at what schools those projects will occur?
Unfortunately, that was done by Mr. Howard outside of the ESSER, and I'm not real familiar with what schools that is.
Okay.
There was a reverse auction process on how they did that,
Yes, sir.
but I'm sorry, I don't know that answer.
Any other questions, colleagues? Would the board like to take action on the $270,000 for HVAC projects as indicated by Mr. Pitt?
as a motion.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unfortunately, Mr. Pipper, it's 2-2. There's no majority, so there's no action.
That's fine.
Again, I just need something to look at. to
That's
go
fine.
by.
Understand.
Yes, sir.
Second one is the permission to advertise for the window project, advertise for bids.
And that's what Mr. Beard.
Mr. Beard was just describing.
And at the work session, you provided us with some documentation, right, Mr. Beard, of what the windows look like?
Yes, sir.
Is there a motion, colleagues?
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr.
Good night.
Thank you as well, Mr. Beard.
Insurance renewal.
Number 8. So number 8 is the bond issue, and again, Mr. Brooks included the architectural information in his interim report. So if there are no comments or questions from the board, we can move on to number 9. Seeing no comments, number 9, Mr. Brooks.
Number 9, public comments.
Are there any comments from anyone in the audience for our public comment section? Yes, sir. You can move forward. Ms. Thomas, can you allow him to use your? And we typically allow about 3 minutes for comments. Since you're the only one, we'll give you 5. Just let us know your name and whatever it is that you would like to share with us.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Speak into the mic, please.
My name is George Whitten.
Is it on?
The switch is on and the light is shining.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Do I understand correctly that one of the items on the agenda is an organizational chart?
Yes, that is an item on our agenda.
When people talk about making sure that more dollars reach the classroom, they mean that too much of the education funding is eaten up by administrative positions at the central office. When candidates for public office speak about improving the public schools, when newspaper readers write letters to the editor about the problems with the public schools, when the general public discuss problems in public school systems, we frequently point to the top-heavy administration. More and more positions are created above the teachers. Administrators' salaries and benefits and travel expenses leave less money for paying teachers, buying supplies for the classrooms, and purchasing books for the students. So if the organizational chart being proposed today proposes to add more deputies or more assistants or more directors of this and directors of that, and if the board members approve the proposal, then 3 things will result. First, you make the public school system more top-heavy. Second, you send the unspoken message to all the school teachers that their jobs are not very important and their salaries are not worth raising by pouring every dollar we can spare into hiring more teachers and paying the classroom teachers who we already employ. And thirdly, we work against the main purpose for consolidating the 2 districts into one. At public meetings that were held in this building to promote consolidation, Mike Kent, the former superintendent, told the people of Greenwood and the people of LeFlore County that consolidation should allow the number of district administrators to be reduced.
And what's your name again, sir?
My last name is spelled W-H-I-T-T-E-N. My first name is George. I reside in Greenwood.
Is that Mr. Whitten?
Correct.
All right. Thank you so much for your comments. Are there any other comments from the floor? Seeing none. One comment, Mr. Brooks, that I'd just like to share for consideration or just share with the board. A parent of a student from Amanda Elsie shared concern regarding, not necessarily concern, but consideration. Most of the schools' uniforms, in one way or another, resemble those school colors. And the parent just asked about, at Amanda Elsie, could those students potentially wear gold, is that the color, coach? Gold or yellow uniform shirts, or the Amanda Elsie blue shirts that resemble their school colors. Again, just a comment that was shared that I would like to share with you for consideration. Number 10, Mr. Brooks.
The Floyd County presentation, Ms. Evans is not here, so we will.
No, she's here. She's here.
Okay, I didn't see you back there.
You are on the agenda. You're not prepared tonight?
No, I
Okay.
did bring the information for the board as well as the superintendent. I'd like to meet with you and him prior to my presentation.
Yes, ma'am. Is that okay with you, Mr. Brooks?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Evans. I'm sorry, I didn't see you back there.
And I apologize, Mrs. Evans.
That's okay.
Number 11, Mr. Brooks. So 11.1 is the discussion to advertise for our vacant superintendent position. And simply wanted to get the will of the board as it pertains to advertising for the position. Of course, the criteria would require, or state criteria would require that applicants meet Mississippi Code 37913. And then if there are any other qualifications that the board deems necessary or would like to recommend to be included in the announcement, if we could share that information with Ms. Rimmer by July the 26th via email. And Ms. Rimmer, could you compile all of that for us to kind of take a look at and then identify, then the board can deliberate and identify what areas or what additional criteria we would like to set forth. And also, colleagues, I would ask that we consider allowing some participation from parents of public schools in this selection process, and potentially some retired educators or a representative from our retired educators group, because again, this selection is important, not only to the school district, but to this community. And the more input that we have from the various constituent groups, I think the students as well as this district would be well served. Ms. Abraham.
I would like to say that in our using Mississippi State Board Association to vet candidates and to give us some qualified applicants, I thought they did an outstanding job in the previous search, and I would certainly be for their doing that, because they did include all stakeholders in the community and allowing everybody to have input. And they do it in an objective manner, a professional manner, and that way we don't have to spend time on vetting anybody that might not be qualified to be the superintendent. So I certainly would be for MSBA to do that legwork.
Any other comments, colleagues? All right, colleagues, so again, make sure for those who would like to send other qualifications that you would like to see in the next superintendent to Mrs. Rimmer no later than July the 26th, so that we can begin to have some discussions about that and we can have a position posted. 11.2, Mr. Brooks.
Insurance renewals. Are there any questions regarding the executive summary?
And this is the information that Mrs. Thomas provided, I think previously, Ms. Thomas? And I think Ms. Lewis or Dr. Moore asked about any changes that between, well, from last year to this year. No? Okay.
If you would like, Ms. Thomas will address.
Any questions? Are there any questions or concerns, colleagues? recommendation, Mr. Brooks?
School board approval to renew all insurances for year 24 school year.
Chair will entertain a motion based upon the interim superintendent's recommendation.
So moved.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Mr. Brooks?
Financial consultant.
No, you have, I'm sorry, I was reading wrong. Go ahead. I apologize.
Are there any questions concerning the executive summary?
Yes, please. Did the business office ask for this help? Well, I'm trying to figure out why we would need that when we have a business manager and a financial administrator whose combined salaries are $187,000, and we want to pay a financial consultant $125,000.
$125.
Am I wrong about that?
Oh, no, I'm looking, I mean,
I might have read it wrong.
Ms. Thomas can address that, but the financial advisor is not working with the business office manager.
They're not working with, what do you say?
No.
Well, who are they working with?
Would you address that?
That's what I read was like.
okay, so. I was $125 an hour. Okay.
Oh, okay.
You scared me for a moment.
All right,
Abraham.
yeah, it scared me
That's
too.
still-
I
that's
thought
still
we
a lot
were
of
doing
money.
that far.
It's still a lot of money.
Okay, but I'd like to know, how many hours we're talking about. Let me hear from you first. I'm
Yes,
sorry.
ma'am. The financial consultant is gonna only do one day a week, and that may not be full days, and it's just to assist because I'm not sure if you all are aware. We have 3 audits that's coming up, and it's a lot of stuff that they're asking for, and it's very tedious. And in order for me to be able to keep up with day-to-day stuff and do all of these audits, we have a FY22 audit, you have the FY23 audit, and you have a FY23 compliance audit from OSA. And all of these audits are going on at the same time. Plus whatever day-to-day operations, plus, any deadlines that have to be met.
What is the limit of time? Is there a limit of time listed for that?
The agreement says till October, but that may not, we just spread it out to October, but if she's finished in August or September, we won't use her anymore.
So one day a week,
Yes, ma'am.
8 hours.
Could be 8, could be 4. It's not necessarily, I don't know if it'll be 8 hours because it depends on what's needed.
Okay.
May I ask a question, Mr. Brooks? Ms. Thomas, would it be more advantageous for us to hire this person contractually versus potentially hiring another employee full-time to help you out?
Yes, because I just need to get through the deadlines, and once I get through the deadlines and trying to scan, because even with the OSA audit, I have 5 pages of stuff with a whole list of things that have to be uploaded to them. And the same thing for the other audits. So it's kind of tedious to try to upload all of that stuff to 2 and 3 different people plus,
Will this also help with the emails that we received today, or that's something different?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions, colleagues? Your recommendation? I'm sorry.
As a consultant for this type of work before?
I think you all have. I'm not sure what all they did prior to, but I know that normally you all use MSBA, a consultant from that office. They'll send somebody.
Mr. Brooks, your recommendation?
Interim superintendent recommends school board approve Mace Educational Consultant LLC to provide technical support to the business managers for the end of the year closing.
Chair will entertain a motion based upon the interim superintendent's recommendation. It's been moved and properly second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Ayes have it, motion carries. Mr. Brooks.
Approval to advertise, obtain competitive bids for high school gymnasium floors.
Life Hill. 11.4. Mr. Devins.
I'm sorry. Center for Life Health. Any questions concerning
And is this a standard agreement that we normally would have?
this? It is.
Are there changes from last year's agreement?
None that I can see. I really haven't seen last year's agreement that none that I know of.
Are there any other questions, colleagues? Your recommendation, Mr. Brooks.
Interim Superintendent recommends consideration to approve the MOU between Life Health and Greenwood Consolidated Schools for the 23-24 and 24-25 school year.
Chair will entertain a motion based upon the interim superintendent's recommendation.
So moved.
It has been moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. 11.5, Mr. Brooks.
Approval to advertise, obtain competitive bids for high school gymnasium floors, athletic department.
Mr. Gabriel, I'm sorry.
Are there any questions regarding the executive summary?
Are there any questions, colleagues? Now, with the volleyball sleeves, does LZ have this currently that you're aware of or no?
Have volleyball or?
What, so it is indicating on the executive summary that Greenwood High and LaFleur County High School floors, they'll say install volleyball sleeves. And I was just trying to see, LZ should have a volleyball team too, just if there's a need.
I'm under the impression that they play at Greenwood High.
Greenwood High, okay. No questions, colleagues? Your recommendation, Mr. Brooks.
The interim superintendent recommends that the board consider approval to advertise for a request for proposal to obtain a competitive bid for personal equipment and service for Greenwood Consolidated School Athletic Department that are expected to exceed $50,000.
Chair will entertain a motion based upon the interim superintendent's recommendation. So moved. It's been moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. 11.6, Mr. Brooks.
Approval of out-of-state travel. Are there any questions regarding the executive summary? We have Mr. Herring here. He can speak to that if you would like.
And this is in regards to NJO. Is it RTC or NJOTC? ROTC, okay.
Good evening, board members. How you doing?
Good evening.
All right. I'm Chief Herring. I'm the NJRTC instructor here at Greenwood High School. I've been there now going on 9 years. Approval for travel. We have an annual conference every year that we have to attend for instructor training. This year it's located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Last year it was located in Kessler Air Force Base in Biloxi. The year prior it was in Pensacola, and the year prior before that it was in Pensacola as well. Each year the Navy sends out an instructions on travel. Once we have completed all the instruction and travels, the Navy reimburses the district the money. Once the training is complete and I come back, I have to go into the system. We call it the procurement system. I go in, do all the paperwork, and the Navy sends all that money back to the district, to the business office, once completed.
Mr. Herring, can you get the Navy to send us some more money?
Well,
I'm sure you can use it and the students could use it as well.
Well, the Navy allots the district monies every 3 months. I have to submit what we call a instructor composition pay. I forward that paperwork to the business office every 3 months, so they reimburse the business office for that monies. Also, throughout the year, the Navy send monies for organizational purposes, building purposes, uniform purposes, the whole 9 yards. So throughout the year, the Navy is sending money to the district in support of the Navy instructor.
Any other questions, colleagues?
Yes, ma'am.
Will this be your first time attending?
No, ma'am. This will be my 9th time.
Okay, I just don't recall receiving these.
And this is new to me too. When I was asked to attend the meeting,
yes,
I never attended the meeting on out-of-state travel, so this is a first for me as well.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today and your service.
No problem.
You're always welcome.
All right.
We like putting names with faces, and as Dr. Moore said, thank you for your service and thank you for what you're doing for our students in the Greenwood-LaFleur Consolidated School.
Also, before I shut it down or before I exit, I do understand that we are consolidated, but the Navy is not recognizing all 3 schools yet because we are not Greenwood-LaFleur Consolidated High School. We are still Greenwood High School. So we still have 3 separate entities of high school. Parents and some principals have been asking me, hey, we have children that want to join JROTC. So I don't know how we can come up with a plan.
We're working toward a high school for you.
Roger that. Roger that.
Encourage my colleagues to go ahead and put
a question, Mr. Harris. So right now you're only working with children or students rather at GHS?
Yes, ma'am. Greenwood High School, because that's what the United States Navy is recognizing right now. Because that is the school that it was opened under in 1974. So I have talked with my Navy commanders and Navy captains. They will not recognize the other schools until we get one high school.
Say that last part again so the folks in the back can hear you.
Okay. The Navy will not recognize 3 separate high schools. They only recognize Greenwood High School right now because that is the program that it was under since 1974. Until we become one Greenwood-LaFleur Consolidated High School, that's when the Navy would then switch over to that mode. Because if you send me right now, if you send me students from Elsie or students from LaFleur, say if you send 5 from Elsie, 5 from LaFleur, they cannot be accounted in my attendance because they do not fall under Greenwood High School. Do that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have, Mr. Brooks, are there any other JROTC instructors in our district? Is Mr. Herring the only one?
He's the only one.
So, okay. I would like to have further discussion at another time regarding that, if it's feasible for the other 2 high schools.
We will arrange it. When will you be back?
From my conference?
Yeah.
July 27th.
And you're the only adult going? You're the
Ma'am?
only adult going?
That's going to the training?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Have y'all tried to maybe talk to some of our senators or representatives about that with the Navy?
About the consolidating?
Well, about their recognizing the other high schools until we get one high school, that they could, because we are making exceptions and keeping people out, that maybe that a senator or representative could work with the Navy on including the other students until we get that one high school.
Well, Madam Board Member, what I would do when I go to this training, I would definitely bring that up. But until we become one high school, as far as the Navy is recognizing it right now, until we become one high school, that's when they will begin to get the credit for one consolidated high school.
And we don't want to punish our students.
Yes, ma'am. But I can't now, if they want to bus them over or if they had a way to come over, I don't mind including them on my drill team, color guard team, drone team. I don't mind adding them to that, but they would not be considered, they would not be added under Greenwood High School. But they can compete in anything that I go and do. Yes, ma'am.
And that's until we have one high school.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. Your recommendation, Mr. Brooks.
Interim superintendent is recommending the board approve for Mr. Walter Herring to travel to the NJROTC annual in-service training in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, July 24th through the 27th, 2023.
Chair will entertain a motion based upon interim superintendent's recommendation. Been moved and properly second. All in favor? Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. 11-7, Mr. Brooks.
Recommendation for removal of surplus equipment from inventory. Mr. Shannon Stone is here to speak on that. If you have any questions. Mr. Stone.
Afternoon. We're requesting to remove some of the old student devices that were issued on the one-to-one contract that we bought in 2019. These are beyond repair. We are out of warranty. We have no claim service, nowhere to send them. It will now charge us if we choose to repair those.
Any questions, colleagues?
We have a couple of freight companies that I've already requested for, and some of them will do a buyback program, and I'm waiting on those quotes, and it's not much, but I hear it's around $10 to $15 per device, times 338. This is the first shipment. If we get a buyback program going, I can find some damaged devices in this district. But we can get something out of it.
Any other questions, colleagues? Now, Mr. Storms, if you are not able to get a buyback program, I've seen these things called smash rooms, and maybe that's a therapy session or something that could be therapeutic for our students if need be. Any other questions, colleagues? None. Your recommendation, Mr. Brooks.
The interim superintendent recommends school board approval to remove 338 damaged student Chromebooks from inventory that are out of warranty and no longer available for repair.
Chair will entertain a motion based upon the interim superintendent's recommendation. It has been moved and properly second. All in favor? Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Storm. Next, colleagues, is 12, our consent agenda, which includes 12.1, 12.2, 12.3, I'm sorry, 12.1 through 12.11. I will make note that Attorney Palmer, the other Attorney Palmer, who has joined us, indicated on 12.4, which is the MOU between the school district and Mississippi Valley State University's social work department, that the language needs to change from Greenwood LaFleur to indicate Greenwood LaFleur Consolidated School District. And I believe that was the only recommendation from Attorney Palmer. 12.9, do you want to speak to the additional one, or I think you had an additional MOU you wanted to include for 12.9?
Accelerated career tour grant administered by South Delta Planning
And colleagues, this is what Ms. Rimmer provided to us with South Delta Planning, the MOU. Attorney Palmer, have you had a chance to look at this for South Delta Planning? It was just provided at the meeting, so you wouldn't have it in your email. Are there any questions, colleagues? So what I was going to do, if it's pleasing the board, is entertain a motion subject to Attorney Palmer okaying it from a legal standpoint for that particular one, if that's okay. What, I'm gonna get the recommendation from, Mr. Brooks first, as they plan. Go ahead, Mr. Brooks, your recommendation.
Interim Superintendent recommends that the school board consider approval of the career coach grant provided by South Dakota Land Development District.
All right, so the chair will entertain a motion that we accept the superintendent's recommendation, subject to review and approval from Attorney Palmer, in addition to approval of the consent agenda. Second, it's been moved properly second. All in favor? Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Down to 13 now, Mr. Brooks.
The change manuals. Upcoming kindergarten, Little Champions Academy, updated personnel.
What page is it in?
419.
Colleagues, are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, your recommendation, Mr. Brooks.
The interim superintendent recommends the school board approval for the attached transportation personnel for the 2022-23 Rise in Kindergarten program.
Chair will entertain a motion based upon the interim superintendent's recommendation. It's been moved and properly second. All in favor? Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. 13.2.
Recommendation for Marcus West as digital media coordinator, photographer.
I just have a question,
Yes, ma'am.
because you have multiple ones of these, does it take that many people?
I think so. This is a very large district, and we're not taking time away from, we have a lot of different events on the same nights, and they're doing all this work after school mostly, not taking away from their time on their real job.
Any other?
And how many of you normally have?
I don't understand.
How many, events, of the digital media coordinator and photographer have we had in the past?
How many have we had?
Mhm. And now how many will we have?
At the board, they don't all have the same definition as to what they would be doing, but we would have 3 people working with media.
And Ms. Rimmer does something with that, do you
Yes.
know? And what does she do?
I work with social media, and I'm the webmaster. And they will serve as event photographers, and one will serve as a videographer. And they gather the information, and I disseminate it on the website and also on social media. So it's a public relations team that we are creating to work with our communication plan.
And the total of the salaries would be what, Mr. Brooks, of all 4? Yeah, of the supplement, right, I apologize, yeah. And obviously, I should have brought my glasses today, I could not see a lot of the stuff on there. Okay, thank you.
I believe that total is gonna be around 35. If I'm correct, Ms. Rimmer. it'll be
Washington,
30.
would you like to speak?
It'll be 35.
Okay.
And I do know at one point, we did have like a public information officer. I don't think we have that individual anymore. I don't know who assumed.
Right, I can understand you don't have to have benefits if you don't have to have benefits. I get that. I just seem like it's increasing. It has nothing to do with the people. They're wonderful people. I'm just concerned about our financial situation.
And I can't speak to who assumed those roles for the public information officer. But I know with Ms. Bremer doing social media and webmaster, that may be some of those things. Any other questions, colleagues? Your recommendation, Mr. Brooks.
Interim Superintendent recommends the board consider approval of Marcus West as additional media coordinator and photographer for Greenwood Consolidated School events at a stipend of $9,500.
And the chair will entertain a motion based upon the interim superintendent's recommendation. So moved. It's been moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Mr. Brooks.
Recommendation for Brandis Brown Williams as event photographer and videographer.
Any questions, colleagues? Your recommendation, Mr. Brooks.
Interim Superintendent recommends the board consider approval of Brandis Brown Williams as an event photographer, videographer at Greenwood Oregon Holiday School events at a stipend of $8,000.
Question, Ms. Remmer, do we provide them with cameras or they're using their own devices? What does that mean? Okay. Chair will entertain a motion based upon the interim superintendent's recommendation. Second, it's been moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. 13.4, Mr. Brooks.
Recommendation for Ms. Watson as event photographer.
Any questions, colleagues? Again, great article in the newspaper, Ms. Watson. Your recommendation, Mr. Brooks.
Interim Superintendent recommends the board consider approval of Ms. Watson as a photographer for Greenwood Oregon Consolidated School event at a
Chair.
stipend of $7,500.
Chair will entertain a motion based upon the interim superintendent's recommendation. Second. It's been moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Mr. Brooks, 13.5.
External providers, professional learning.
Colleagues, are there any questions? Seeing none? I'm sorry.
Ms. Jefferson?
Yes, ma'am. It's for our subject area teachers. Yes, ma'am, it's for our subject area teachers.
Any other questions, colleagues? Ms. Johnson, and this is separate from what Mr. Taylor was doing, correct? If I remember correctly?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Your recommendation, Mr. Brooks.
Interim Superintendent recommends personnel approval for pre-service summer training that will be provided by an external provider.
One other question, if I may. Are these federal funds or district funds? Federal, okay. Chair will entertain a motion based upon the interim superintendent's recommendation. It has been moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Mr. Brooks, 13.6.
Personnel recommendation. You have a handout on here before you.
Colleagues, are there any questions?
I just have one thing I'd like to say.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, two things. We had, as a board, we had requested from MSBA to do a feasibility study for 21-22 school year that compares school districts that are around our size in the state. And from that feasibility study, the stats certainly pointed out that our salary salaries in many ways, in many of the positions were higher. Certainly, we didn't have the enrollment that would be warranting what we were paying. And so as a result, we did have, less positions and made sure that we tried to have fair salaries. And my first question, Mr. Brooks, is what was your rationale in these positions and their salaries? I mean, you don't have any evaluations. You haven't been here long enough for that. What was the rationale you used? Because I'm very concerned about the stewardship of taxpayer money.
Ms. Abraham, I've been in the district over 40 years, so I do know what it takes. I plan to save money by appointing these people to these positions. They are experts in their own field. They know what they're doing. I go to the in-house training, staff development, and stop using so much outsourcing. And we save a bunch of money by not outsourcing, using the people that we have that are highly trained and capable of providing those services. All the people that I recommended are already working at a district, and it's just like they were giving more duties with minimum salaries increase, $5,000 or whatever. But they were already in the district with a job. They just giving more duties and maybe $5,000 more. Now, they reduce the work that we've been outsourcing. We'll try to keep it in-house, use the people that we have.
So 2 questions for me, Mr. Brooks. Looking at page, looking at some of the positions, particularly on 4 or 5, then I know there may be 1 or 2 on page 2 and 3. The Attorney Palmer has advised that we should be mindful of taking employees who are or should be on at-will agreements and placing them on contracts. So that would be my reservation, unless the position that they hold requires a license. That would be my reservation regarding what has been presented. Now, if you are willing to or open to maybe allowing those employees to remain at will based upon whatever the requirements are, and again, based upon the advisement from counsel, I could potentially support what you have presented. But I do ask Attorney Palmer, should we approve the organizational chart first, then the personnel, or does it matter which order we go in?
Generally, you would approve the organizational chart for the positions that are outlaid or outlined in the district, and then come back and do the actual positions.
Dr. Moore.
Motion to table this particular document for further discussion. Noting the observation of Dr. Bailey and the at-will situation, I would like for us to have some discussion around this particular document further.
Would you like to discuss that in executive session? Or?
Yes, I would like to maybe table this, or move that we table this for further discussion in executive session.
Is that appropriate, Attorney Palmer?
It is, as long as the board makes there is a reason regarding this document to go into executive session.
In addition, our organizational chart, observations from our constituencies are duly noted, and I would like for us to discuss chart and the personnel recommendations.
So looking, based upon your recommendation, would you accept potentially tabling, say 13.6 through 13.10? Is that okay? 13.6 through 13.10.
That's correct.
Is that okay, Attorney Palmer, until after?
That's the board's pleasure.
Is that okay with you, Mr. Brooks?
Yes.
Well, I think that, I certainly think we can, take this up. I have, questions myself, but I think those areas that do not warrant executive session, I think the public needs to be aware of some changes that, you know, in terms of organizational chart and, positions and that type of thing.
Any particular one that you feel we should not have a conversation about?
Well, I have a problem, it's not about a particular one. I have a problem in the organizational chart that you don't have people at the schools, employees of the schools, going, to be supervised by the principals in all of these circumstances. There are a lot of employees, if you looked at the left-hand side, that, you know, they're not going to have to answer to the principals. And I think that we are taking away from the control and responsibility of the principals, and they're answering to the assistant superintendent. Also, the board attorney is certainly under the board of trustees. We've got that, but I'm saying in terms of the personnel, that there's something that seems awry with this, that there are too many people answering to the assistant superintendent and not under the principals of each school. And the principals, in my opinion, know the best thing for the school, or the best recourse for the school in terms of its actions. I mean, we can discuss that, but I'm saying I don't think all of this warrants executive session discussion.
Mr. Chair, if I may, and duly noted, Ms. Abraham, the comments that you've made regarding your concerns. Of course, the board, if it does decide to go in executive session for the purposes as stated, then it always can report back out to the public as to any changes that will be made going forward with what you've been presented.
And that's a normal protocol, is it not, Mr. Palmer?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Your motion, Dr. Moore?
I'm gonna move that we table, that we table,
13.6
13.6 through 13.10 on our board meeting agenda for executive session.
Is there a second? It has been moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Number 14, Mr. Brooks.
Just a minute. The tab fell off.
You all have a lot of paper.
Monthly financial report. The financial reports for the month ending May 23rd. May 2023. The following reports are attached.
So, Ms. Thomas, I have two questions. One not necessarily about, or both not necessarily about this particular budget, but have you started looking at dates for the budget hearing as we prepare?
I was waiting on you all to give me a date. I think you had left, and I was telling them whatever date you all let me know. I'll be ready.
Well, give us some dates, and we'll make a decision, because we don't need to necessarily let that pass us by. If you need to email us or...
Okay. I'm gonna look at the calendar, and I'll send you all an email tonight or first thing in the morning.
Colleagues, is that okay with you all?
Yes, because I have a problem making decisions on personnel, and I don't know what the budget's gonna be.
Yes, ma'am.
That's correct. And we'll also need an update update on our fund balance.
Is that included? Is it?
This is included here, okay. Our current fund balance. Yes, ma'am. Okay, okay. Thank you.
And if it's okay with Mr. Brooks, I know this was a discussion prior to his arrival. We have a policy about overtime, where those employees who perform overtime work, of course, at the discretion of the superintendent, can either receive pay or comp time. I do recognize when we're in a budget crunch, pay isn't always an option, especially we do recognize that that's something that employees would want over comp time. But maybe looking at what our budget looks like, if that says, hey, we can pay you overtime up to $500, and after that, it's cut off, you receive comp time. Just let us know what the budget will allow, if it will allow that, because again, I don't know how many employees we have that work overtime, but I do know, for example, SROs, SSOs with those games, that can be a lot of time, if you will. Are there any other questions about the budget? Oh, I'm sorry, the claims docket, colleagues? Seeing none, your recommendation, Mr. Brooks.
Interim Superintendent recommends school board approval for the May financial report and the payment of claims 955-672-955-758.
Chair will entertain a motion based upon the interim superintendent's recommendation. So moved. Second. It's been moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Chair will entertain a motion to close this session for consideration of executive session. Section.
Mr. President.
I'm sorry.
The interim superintendent has been looking at a possible retreat date. Some of the board members have expressed interest in having a retreat. And we're looking at August the 11th through the 13th. Consider those dates for a retreat.
Mr. Brooks has shared that his office is looking to host a retreat for the board on August the 11th through the 13th.
I do know, I feel that the retreat is very important and key to us moving this district forward with our bond issue. Here, this is where further discussion will take place, Mr. Brooks, among the board and you and other constituencies that we feel can determine whether, you know, we're moving in the direction under the leadership of with the collaborative efforts of Attorney Palmer. So I want to thank you for these dates so that we can move forward.
You don't need any action, do you? Do you need action on that? No. Okay. Chair will entertain a motion to close this session for consideration of executive session. So moved. It's been moved and properly second. All in favor? Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries.
Okay, but what about
Have you made your announcement already? I have not. Oh, go ahead. I think Dr. Moore is on her way. Yes, sir, if you don't mind.
Ladies and gentlemen, the board went into executive session to the two said items that was announced to the public. Board took no action on both of those items, Mr. President.
Thank you. Mr. Brooks, based upon Attorney Palmer's advisement, we'll start with 13.7 and then go to 13.6.
Approval of 2023-24 Greenwood LaFleur Consolidated School District Authorization Chart.
Chair will entertain a motion based upon the interim superintendent's recommendation. So moved. Been moved and properly second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Aye. Ayes have it. Motion carries. 13.6, Mr. Brooks.
Personnel recommendations.
What is your recommendation, Mr. Brooks?
Interim superintendent recommends school board approval for the 2023-24 personnel list on the attached sheets.
Can I?
Classified will remain classified.
And the at wheels will remain. Chair will entertain a motion based upon the interim superintendent's recommendations.
So moved.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. 13.8, Mr. Brooks.
Personnel recommendation, job descriptions.
Your recommendation?
Interim superintendent recommends school board approval for the attached job description for the assistant superintendent of district operations.
Chair will entertain a motion based upon the interim superintendent's recommendation. So moved. It's been moved and properly second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Roll call. Ms. Abraham, your vote?
Nay. Magdalene Abraham.
Aye, Rashawn Bailey. The job description fails for lack of a majority. 13.9, Mr. Brooks.
Personnel recommendations.
13.9. The work days. Work days.
Superintendent recommends school board approval for the 23-24 work schedule for personnel on the attached sheet.
Chair will entertain a motion based upon the interim superintendent's recommendation. So moved. It's been moved and properly second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. 13.10, Mr. Brooks.
Personnel recommendations. The job descriptions, which require school board approval.
And what is your recommendation?
The interim superintendent recommends school board approval for the 2023-24 job description on the attached sheet.
Chair will entertain a motion based upon the interim superintendent's recommendation. Second, it's been moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Roll call. Ms. Abraham?
Aye. Magdalene Abraham.
Coach? Aye, Rashawn Bailey. Ayes have it, motion carries. Any other business, colleagues? Seeing none, Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
It's been moved and proper second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Please consider yourself adjourned.